to our show, Stuff. I am your host for the evening, Aaron Flaherty, from Washington Middle School, and tonight's guest is Tom Ernst. Hello, Tom. May I call you Tom?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Before we start, tell us something about yourself.
I am a teacher by trade. I taught 8 years, and part of what I taught was outdoor education. And while I was teaching about outdoor education, I became more and more concerned about the environment. And when I got out of teaching, I wanted to do something that I could do for a living that would help the environment. So I heard about this business, Missoula Valley Recycling, and I ended up purchasing the business. So now I'm a recycler, amongst other things.
Cool. So tell us a little bit more about Missoula Valley Recycling, and of course you already said your job there.
Okay.
So just tell us more about recycling.
Missoula Valley Recycling was started 8 years ago. It was started by a gentleman in the Rattlesnake, and they just wanted to pick up their neighborhood. And so they got a coalition of people that were interested in recycling together, sort of like a co-op. That blossomed into a small business. And what they do is they come to your house and they'll pick up your recycling at your curb or alley for a fee, a monthly fee. And then we pick up the recyclables and we take them either to Pacific or BFI and drop them off there. So we provide the service to make it easy for people to recycle.
Interesting. So did you start it, or in Missoula, or
No,
else?
I actually bought the company. Somebody else started it.
In Missoula. Okay.
Yes, in Missoula. And I don't believe there's any other company like it in Montana, such as Great Falls or Helena. There's no other curbside recycling businesses at this time in Montana.
And why is this recycling important to Missoula and our environment?
Well, recycling is part of trying to live a sustainable future. By sustainable, I mean, how do we cut trees, and how do we make metal, and how do we live on this planet with a lifestyle that will allow us to survive on the planet. A lot of science says right now that we are destroying some of the systems in the planet, such as global warming is an example of how our lifestyles from burning fossil fuels are causing increased greenhouse gases. Those increased greenhouse gases are warming up the atmosphere, and if our atmosphere warms up, we're actually changing the environment of the planet as if it was a giant test tube. So recycling is a small way for individuals to try to get in touch with how they use their resources and put some of those resources back into the stream instead of using the natural resources, the raw materials that make those things in the first place. You know what I mean?
In a way, yes. I'm understanding it.
Uh-huh.
What exactly can we recycle? Like, what are some products that are good for recycling?
Paper products, such as cardboard, such as white paper. We can do colored paper. We can't do manila envelopes, like this color right now. We can do newspaper. We can also do tin, like tin cans, a soup can, and aluminum, such as a pop can. We can do 2 kinds of plastics. We can do the number 1 and 2, which are pop bottle plastic and milk jug plastic. Pop bottle plastic is usually colored or clear.
Like those down there.
Correct. Like this one is and these are the only 2 types of plastic we can recycle.
Are there other types
of plastic? Yeah. For instance, a butter dish is usually a solid color plastic, or one of those Tide containers that the liquid Tide. They're usually solid color plastics, and I'm not sure why we can't take them. Mainly because there's no market that makes it profitable for somebody to collect them in Missoula and ship them to a market where somebody will buy them. Recycling depends on the economy. If nobody wants to buy something, there's not a market for it to be recycled. So that sometimes is a difficulty in Montana because we only have 800,000 people in the whole state. And our market is so small, yet to ship our plastics away to, say, Seattle, it's a long ways away.
What are some ways to enforce recycling among like adults and children?
To enforce it? What do you mean by enforce it?
Like ways to encourage them to recycle.
Well, schools can have recycling bins. If you put, say, a recycling for aluminum can bin right next to the garbage bin, and you just drank a can of pop, and you went to throw that can out, what would you choose? Would you choose to throw it in the recycling bin, or would you choose to throw it in the trash where it will go to the landfill?
I guess it probably depends on the kind of person who, like, if they care about the environment, then, like, I mean, I care pretty much about it. And I think we do have recycling bins at Washington.
Good.
I probably would put it in the recycling bin.
Yeah.
But some kids might just, like, throw it in the garbage, not really caring.
Uh-huh.
But,
I guess I'm thinking, too, if you had the choices right there in front of you, you're probably going to be more inclined to make the wiser choice. Unfortunately, recycling isn't always that easy of a choice. Sometimes you have to go out of your way to make sure that you do the right thing, that if you feel that is the right thing. If you feel that you'd rather put your energy into something that's going to help save some of our natural resources.
What are the uses of recycled materials in our town?
In our town, the first thing that comes to my mind is glass. The city of Missoula formed a program in which which BFI is helping them with. BFI and Missoula Valley Recycling will collect glass, and then it gets stockpiled outside of town. And when the city of Missoula awards a road contract, they require the road builders to use 10% glass in the road aggregate. So when you build a road, you're putting down big rock and then finer rock and then finer rock, and you're pressing it all down as you go. Well, if you can put glass in there too. So if you crush up glass, you can use it in the roads. So presently, we're using glass, Missoula glass, in Missoula roads. Unfortunately, we're getting a lot of glass, though, because, you know, Missoula is only so big, and since nobody else in the state recycles glass, because of the popularity of our program, we're getting too much glass, and people are bringing glass from, say, Kalispell or Hamilton or small towns like St. Ignatius and Hot Springs, and we're starting to get too much glass for the roads we build. So I'm hoping that the program won't fail because of its own popularity.
Yeah.
Other than that, the other paper products and aluminum and tin products get shipped out of state to recyclers in various markets.
So for the road construction on 39th, so would they be using glass then?
Yeah, because they've required the road contractors, the people that build the roads, to use 10% glass in the road bed. So actually, when the contractor figures the cost of the road up, that what they'll do is they'll say, okay, what does it cost me to use glass? And they'll figure that into the cost.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a good program. It would be great if other cities and towns in Montana did the same program, because then people, say, from Kalispell or Big Fork wouldn't have to bring their glass down here, and we could all use it locally.
Well, we brought in a random person from the street. And
A random person?
Yes, and he's right here. And we were thinking hopefully maybe you can quiz him on basic recycling for an average person.
For an average person, okay. He's got a teddy bear.
I like my bear.
What?
Like my bear.
Good. The average person on the street. So, does the average person recycle?
Probably. I do.
You do?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And how do you recycle?
In boxes.
Good. And then what do you do with your recyclables?
The people pick them up.
Do you live in a neighborhood?
Yes.
Average person? And do the rest of the people in your neighborhood recycle?
I
That
think
you know,
so.
or have you seen evidence they recycle?
Yes.
What evidence?
The recycling box things.
They have a little sign or something?
Yes.
Good. So, on your trash day, have you ever noticed the recycling boxes out there? Or do you notice it? Do you think most people, like average person that recycles, like you, do you think they use Missoula Valley Recycling, the blue bag system, or they take it themselves in their own car?
Take it themselves.
Do you?
Or they don't do it at all.
Or they don't do it at all?
Yeah.
Well, what percentage of people in Missoula do you think recycle? Take a wild guess. I don't know. So, but you're the average
63%.
person, so 63?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. All right. What don't you know about recycling that you would like to know? Don't boom.
Not much.
Not much you don't know,
No,
or not much you would like to know?
probably both.
I don't get that. And what do you think is a good reason to recycle, average person? Why do you recycle?
Because it, like, helps the environment.
Well, thank you for coming in today.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll maybe see you again.
Sure.
See you later.
Bye.
Try to stay average.
Okay. Do area businesses use recycled materials, or do you have to ship them out?
Pardon me?
State?
Pardon
Do
me?
businesses such as like
Yeah, name one.
such as like real estate appraisal?
Okay.
Well, do they use recycled materials, or do you have to ship them out of state for other businesses, like out of state to use?
Do they use recycled materials? I think oftentimes they try to buy paper that uses a percentage. For instance, you mentioned real estate. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention names, but we pick up one of the bigger realtors, Lambros Realty, here in Missoula, and they actually make these big, thick books with all the houses that are for sale, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and we pick them up once a week, and we usually pick up about 5 big blue bins, the kind that have wheels on them. They're like big trash cans. We usually pick up about 5 blue bins full of paper. So each blue bin weighs around 250 pounds. So
Wow,
that's about
that's a
1,250 pounds of paper that they generate every single week.
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah. Now, not all the realtors do recycle in Missoula, but a lot of them make those books. So I think that if all the realtors did recycle, we'd probably pick up 5 times more than we get right now, just from the realtors.
And there are a lot of realtors out here.
Sure, there's a lot in a town like Missoula that's growing. And then there's a lot of other businesses that generate recyclables too, that don't necessarily recycle, but there's, a lot that do. A lot of times it has to do with the employees that work there. The employees will say, hey, why don't we recycle? Why are we generating all this paper and we're throwing it in the waste